In the stillness of dawn, before the birds began to sing and before the world opened its eyes, Caroline Mason sat alone in her daughter's room. The walls were soft lavender. The air faintly scented with vanilla from a candle Lily had insisted on lighting each night before bed. Caroline held a stuffed rabbit, frayed at the ears, loved to the brink of unraveling. It had been Lily's from birth. A silent companion through bedtime stories, bad dreams, and countless tears. The house was too quiet now. The laughter that once filled it had evaporated. Grief lived in the silence, echoing off every wall. Outside, Elmridge appeared untouched. Neat fences, trimmed lawns, porch swings that swayed gently in the morning breeze. But beneath the surface, the town carried a scar, a deep, raw wound from which it would never fully heal. What happened to Lily Grace Mason wasn't just a crime. It was a story that would unravel everything they thought they knew about their neighbors, their safety, and their hearts. This is that story. It was a crisp autumn morning in Elmridge, the kind of town where front doors stayed unlocked and neighbors waved from porches. Caroline Mason stirred sugar into her coffee, humming along to the radio while her daughter, Lily, finished packing her school bag. At just 9 years old, Lily was a burst of sunshine, curious, artistic, with a laugh that could break the darkest clouds. "Don't forget your sketchbook," Caroline reminded her. "Got it." Lily beamed, slinging her backpack on and rushing to the door. It would be the last time Caroline saw her daughter alive. When the school secretary called mid-morning to ask if Lily was sick, Caroline's world began to tilt. "She left for school," Caroline said, her voice cracking. A frantic search began. Volunteers combed woods and fields. Flyers papered telephone poles. Her drawing, a bluebird flying above a sunflower, became the image burned into the community's collective heart. By nightfall, the truth began to dawn. Lily hadn't just wandered off. She had been taken. 2 days later, a jogger found her body by the riverbank, covered in leaves, her sketchpad beside her, pages torn and stained. The town reeled. Detective Marcus Mercer was called in from the capital. He'd seen plenty in his time, but nothing prepared him for this. The innocence in Lily's artwork, the serenity on her face despite the violence, this wasn't just murder. It was personal. Caroline collapsed when she saw the police at her door. Nothing, no words, no prayers, no explanations, could touch the cavern inside her. As the investigation deepened, suspicion seeped into the fabric of Elmridge. A new custodian at Lily's school, Tyler Crane, had a criminal record. He had kept to himself, barely spoken to anyone. He hadn't shown up for work the day Lily disappeared. Neighbors recalled odd behavior. Children remembered a man who watched the playground too long. And then, he vanished. Detective Mercer dug into Tyler's past, abuse, foster homes, juvenile records. But there were no concrete leads. Tyler was a ghost. Meanwhile, Caroline faced a different nightmare, the media. Reporters camped outside her door. Stories twisted, headlines screamed. Some even suggested she was involved. She shut the world out, locked the doors, clutched Lily's favorite sweater at night. But she never stopped hoping for answers. Then came the break. A teenage girl in a nearby town reported a man watching her sketch at a park. He complimented her drawing. She remembered his name, Tyler. CCTV caught him walking away. His clothes were different, but it was him. Mercer finally had a direction. With renewed focus, the task force traced Tyler's movements, bus tickets, surveillance, witness sightings. He was careful, but not perfect. He had stayed at a halfway house, bought art supplies, spoke to a street vendor about teaching someone to draw. Each breadcrumb pointed toward obsession. He hadn't just taken Lily. He had followed her, planned it, loved her in some twisted way. The town's collective grief turned to fear. Parents clutched their children tighter. Lights stayed on later at night. Rumors swirled about Tyler, about his past, about what he might have done since disappearing. Detective Mercer widened the investigation. He checked shelters, bus stations, and parole records from nearby counties. He finally found a lead, a motel receipt under the name T. Crane, registered 2 days before Lily's death in a town called Wellingham, 40 minutes away. Security footage confirmed it. Tyler Crane had been there. He looked older, gaunt, haunted. Mercer's gut twisted. This was no longer just a search for answers. It was a race against time. When police stormed the room, it was empty. Tyler was gone. But he had left something behind. In the motel trash bin was a torn piece of paper, smeared in pencil, Lily's unfinished drawing. The same one from the sketchpad beside her body. He had kept a part of her. And now, Mercer knew for sure. A manhunt spread across 3 counties. Tip lines flooded. Tyler's photo was posted on every street corner, gas station, and diner wall. Then, late one night, a patrol officer spotted a figure walking along Route 86. Hood pulled up, backpack slung low. It was him. The arrest was swift, quiet. Tyler didn't resist. He didn't even speak. Just stared at Mercer with empty eyes as the cuffs clicked shut. At the station, he said nothing for hours. Until Mercer slid Lily's sketchpad across the table. "She smiled at me," Tyler whispered. "No one smiled at me in years." He broke. The confession came in fragments: resentment, loneliness, a twisted desire for connection. He hadn't meant to hurt her, he claimed. He just didn't want to be alone. But things had spiraled. Mercer didn't believe in monsters. Until he met one. The trial was set for spring. National media descended on Elmridge. News vans lined Main Street. Everyone wanted to know how such evil could bloom in such a quiet place. Caroline took the stand. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled as she held up Lily's final drawing. The courtroom wept with her. Tyler showed no emotion. The jury deliberated for less than a day. Guilty on all counts. Life in prison without parole. But justice, as Caroline would later say, wasn't the same as peace. The town praised her strength, but Caroline felt hollow. The days after the trial were a blur of casseroles, flowers, and condolences. She heard the words, but none of them reached her. She began attending therapy in secret. She didn't want pity, she wanted purpose. So, she started the Lily Grace Foundation, a non-profit for missing and endangered children. It began with bake sales and silent auctions. Then grants came. Then national recognition. Lily's name, her light, lived on in every child the foundation helped find. Still, Caroline missed the notes. The laughter. The late-night movie marathons. And there were nights when the silence screamed louder than the grief. Detective Mercer retired a year later. He never took another case. In his heart, he knew Lily's was the one that mattered most. He stayed in Elmridge. Some said he couldn't leave. Others said he chose not to. He visited Lily's grave every week. Left her a flower. Sometimes a new sketchbook. He never spoke at public events. Never accepted interviews. But the town whispered his name with reverence. Because while justice came through the court, peace had come from a man who refused to give up. And in the end, that made all the difference. Elmridge eventually returned to a kind of normal, but not the same one it had before. A memorial garden was built at the school, where Lily's classmates planted wildflowers and painted stones in her memory. Each September, the town holds a candlelight vigil. Caroline still lives on Willow Lane. She teaches, she bakes, she sings. And every morning, she places a sticky note on the fridge, one only she reads. "Love you more than all the stars. L." Some nights, she sits on the porch and watches the sky. And when she sees a shooting star, she smiles. Because somewhere, somehow, she believes Lily is watching too. And the stars, once silent, whisper her name.